Hi, all. I just want to welcome you to Lexington Next virtual public forum on attractive and vibrant commercial districts in Lexington. I believe that it has just come up. Yes, Amanda, it has successfully come up. There is an option to listen to this forum with an interpreter in English and Mandarin. So if you would like to, please click at the bottom right of your screen where it says interpretation. You can also have your screen show a live transcript if you would like, and that's pressing the live transcript. It sort of says CC in a box at the bottom of the screen. Most of our participation during this forum will be through the chat, so all participants are welcome to engage in the chat. We do monitor it throughout this. Thank you. We do monitor it throughout the forum, and we try to respond as best as possible to questions from the chat. If we don't respond specifically to your question, then we will try to respond after the forum. I would just also like to let everyone know that at the end of the forum, we do tend to have a more informal gathering, and then there's more of an opportunity. Are we doing that this time, Martha?
It will depend. It will depend on how many attendants we have, because if we have too many, it would be not fair to people because they wouldn't be able to participate.
So we try and get as much engagement as possible. Our chats are then transcribed, and we do use them in our analysis for the upcoming Lexington Comprehensive Plan. I would like to make everyone aware that this forum is being recorded. And so I request that everyone keep comments in the chat respectful and thoughtful as you make your comments. I'd also like to acknowledge in our forum today the Economic Development Advisory Committee, the Lexington Center Committee, the Chamber of Commerce, and the Lexington Retailers Association. In addition, I will acknowledge the Comprehensive Plan Advisory Committee, which is made up of 12 members from throughout Lexington. And I'd like to acknowledge the planning staff and our liaisons from the planning board, from the select person's office, and also our consultant team, to whom we will be handing this over shortly. That's sort of the preamble. Have I missed anything, Chris, Daphne?
Just to talk about the purpose.
Okay, so today's forum, the purpose of today's forum is to define and talk about what makes a commercial area attractive and vibrant, to identify the sort of positive features of our existing commercial districts, which range from very small, just crossroads to the center of town, and to discuss ways of improving the attractiveness and the vibrancy of these key districts. Just to give everybody a little background, the comprehensive Lexington Next is the comprehensive plan update. It will be updating the comprehensive plan for Lexington, which was completed in 2003. It focuses primarily on our built environment, but we are also motivated by the disruption currently happening in town center with the streetscape and the questions about that. The town is undergoing a path to the 250th celebration. And the select board has a 2-year goal for our town centers and our commercial districts. So the comprehensive plan is an important link is an important, it's a way to think about how can we make Lexington a better place? So that will be sort of, that's what we're thinking about overall. This particular forum will focus on our commercial districts. And we do have a website. If you just type in lexingtonnext.org, you will get to the website. It's a very robust website. It also provides, there is a link within the website to a social pinpoint, which allows for input from the public on everything from your favorite place to your recommendations for strategies to address any concerns you have about the town.
Sarah, just excuse me. One of the participants is pleased asked if you would just introduce yourself, and perhaps Chris. So as the chairs, I think you deserve a little credit. Don't be so modest.
So I apologize. I should have started this by introducing us. Chris, my name is Sarah Felton. I am a co-chair along with Chris Herbert of the Comprehensive Plan Advisory Committee. I know we have other members of the Comprehensive Plan Advisory Committee here, but I'm not going to be able to see on my screen who that is, so I will not go through all that. We are, Chris and I and all the Comprehensive Plan Advisory Committee members are residents of Lexington.
And thank you, Sarah. And we have Carol Kowalski, who is here from Assistant Town Manager for the town. Daphne Politis and Martha Lyon, who are consultants engaged by the town to work on the comprehensive plan. And Jerry Michelson is here. And Jerry, you're here in capacity with the
Chamber of Commerce.
Chamber of Commerce.
Is that right?
No, I'm the chair of the Lexington Center Committee. We discuss monthly about what's going on in the center of town. I'm also a business owner in town and longtime town meeting member.
And I think one of the chief engineers of Rediscovery Day that a few weeks ago that was so successful.
That's a lot of people who do that, so I can't take credit for that.
Well, it was partial credit. And Sandy Iyer is here as well from the town, I believe. But I don't know if she's. There she is.
Good evening, everyone. Thank you so much, Chris. Yes, hi, I'm the Economic Development Director for the town of Lexington.
I think
And
that's
yes,
the
Erin Sandler-Rathre is the Executive Director for the Chamber of Commerce, and I believe she's in attendance as well.
And Carol, we should ask you, is there anybody we failed to recognize who should be acknowledged?
I don't believe so. I've tried to take a stay on top of the attendees. We mentioned, I believe, the liaison, the select board liaison and the planning board liaison and the school committee liaison. Not all of them are in attendance, but they've been keeping those boards and committees connected and vice versa to the CPAC, and we're grateful for that.
And just to say that the executive director of the Chamber of Commerce is here, Erin Sandler-Rathre, and the board chair, Carol Bluke, is also here on the call.
So now let's find out who else is here. Sarah, would you like to ask?
So we do ask who else is here. So we will have a poll. This is an effort to understand sort of what range of ages we have at our forum. If you could just, you should be able to be seeing that on your screen. So we have quite a range of people. Primarily, I'd say in the 20 to 80-year-old range, which is awesome. And but we do have people at all ends of the spectrum, which is great. We will have another poll in terms of what gender you identify as. So good range of folks. And just, do you have children in the Lexington Public Schools? All these questions give us a sense of who's attending our forums, who we've been able to reach in our discussions. And it's very helpful to us to know that. So we have 30% who do and 70% who do not have children in the Lexington Public Schools. And someone just posted in the chat, I know that when there are two of you, it's a little difficult to answer a question twice. So we do recognize that. And how often do you patronize one of the Lexington commercial districts? We have most people patronizing one of our commercial centers 2 to 3 times a week. I'm glad to see we have no one who never patronizes the center or any of the commercial districts. But we do have a couple hardly ever.
And there's a question about how many people are attending. What we can see is 142 participants right now online.
So Sarah, are you going to give the agenda?
Apologies. So I'm trying to do too many things at once. Tonight's presentation will we will talk a little bit about the context of the comprehensive plan, the specific definitions of the terms we'll be using, some examples of best practice, and a brief overview of our commercial districts, some discussion of the impacts of COVID-19. We'll focus on our key commercial areas and nodes and have a discussion about what would make Lexington's commercial districts more attractive and vibrant. This forum is scheduled to go from 7 o'clock to 9:30. We have a lot of material to cover, so I know that's very, very long for a forum, but we have found these forums very valuable in contributing to our thinking. At the end, there will be a raffle for very, very good prizes. However, you do have to be present to get the raffle. Do we leave that all the way to the end? Do we have a?
Yes, all the way to the end.
All the way to the end. So the Lexington Comprehensive Plan is speaking to sort of 7 different areas. We are trying to speak to an accessible and connected community. These are sort of the principles that are guiding the plan: a livable community, healthy and socially responsible community, a vital and resilient economy, harmony with nature, good governance, and commitment to equity. We have 8 goals. And one of our goals is to promote economic vitality. So the thinking or some of the sort of objectives of those goals that we have identified are retaining existing and attract additional commercial development, making this town center more of a destination, improving commercial areas in various locations, and continue to promote tourism, support the working from home population. So I'm gonna turn it over to Daphne and Martha at this point.
Thank you, Sarah. Thank you very much. As Sarah said, we have a lot to cover. So the main part of this forum is going to be focused on a discussion with you so that we can understand your experience of the commercial centers and your thoughts about how we should retain what's good about them and how we can make improvements in the future. So we're going to do a little bit of a brief overview of kind of creating a context and then look at best practices from elsewhere for inspiration and then get right down to that discussion. So bear with us while we lay that foundation. So just as a sort of starting point to think about what is a vibrant place. In Lexington, where do you go to eat out? If you could type that in the chat, please. And Martha will be letting us know.
Via Lago. Il Casale. Panera, yes. We don't. Thai. Panera, a lot of the same. The Rice Cube, Taiwan, Taipei Gourmet.
What about coffee?
Pete's. Gosh, this is coming up so fast. Starbucks, Ride, Pete's, Panera, even though it's closing. Dunkin', GD.
Where do you buy a toothbrush?
CVS, Walgreens, CVS, Walgreens, Theater Pharmacy.
Some theater pharmacy.
Oh, there you go. Where do you buy clothing?
Burlington Mall, online. I don't. Plato's Closet, Goodwill.
Where do you buy gifts?
Target, Nordstrom Rack, Crafty Yankee, The Mall, Artisan Way, Miss Firefly Moon, Maxima. Mostly online, stationery store.
Where do you run into people you know or you go to People Watch?
Library, Lexington Center, the bike path, Arlington, the church, Il Casale, Lexington Center, Wilson's, sitting on the benches on Mass Ave, Stop and Shop, Royal India Bistro.
Where do you have an after dinner drink?
Il Casale, nowhere, home, nowhere to go, on my couch. Pickings are slim. Arlington has nowhere to go. Revolution Hall, not many choices.
Okay, so looks like we have some good features and we have some room for improvement, right? To make a vital and attractive commercial districts in town. So what does an attractive and vibrant commercial district do? It contributes to the quality of life, it provides jobs, it helps develop a sense of community, increasing pride, contributing to the town's tax base, help foster social connections between people, convenient, help save energy, take advantage of existing infrastructure, encourage people to get outside and move around, which we know is both for our physical and mental health, very important, and enhance the visual appeal of a town. Now, what is the definition of economic vitality? A vital community is one that combines some of the following characteristics. It's comfortable and safe. It has good quality infrastructure, low crime rates, so it feels safe, good jobs, fosters creativity, experiencing growth in population, jobs and wages, and it's diverse and flexible enough to withstand economic change. So it's as much a sense of a community feeling alive as it is a list of numbers, right? As it is dollars. So if we want to think about the definitions of attractive and vibrant, it's sort of like being in love. You know it when you feel it, right? It's hard to define, but you know when it's there and you know when it's not. If you were to think of a commercial area you think of as being vibrant, what would you say makes it so? If you would type that in the chat, please. What are the features that make it feel vibrant?
People. diversity, art, independent stores, places to gather, street life, environment, galleries, restaurants, multiple ages, New York, coffee shops, places to walk, culture, outdoor eating, public art, boutiques, comedy club, restaurants, green space, outdoor music, live music.
And what makes it attractive? And it might be some of those same features, but if that just prompts you to think of additional features.
Fewer strip malls, no banks. Open space, architecture, no cars, green space, outdoor space, pedestrian space, unique shops, art and music, pedestrian areas, more space for general public, cycling lanes, movable seating, cleanliness, street musicians, a variety of shops, trees, a sense of intimacy and balance with public activity, youth-friendly, outdoor dining, easy parking.
So no, no one feels like they don't have any ideas. So one of the features, or one of the functions rather, of a vibrant and attractive commercial center is what we call a third place. Now, right here is a photo of a third place in a traditional Greek town that I spend a lot of time in. This right here is the mayor. He holds office hours in this coffee shop. At night, it turns into a bar, and he holds office hours in the bar. And if people don't want to go to the city hall to make a formal appearance, they meet him here. They know they're going to run into him, but they also know they're going to run into this merchant, this jeweler, this fisherman, etc. And it's where everybody knows to go for information and to see people they know. So third places are places where they're not home, that's first place. They're not work, that's second place. It's a third place. It's a place that's where people exchange ideas, meet each other, build relationships. And I mean, it has been noted that especially for younger Americans, third places are now virtual. But as Oldenburg, who coined the term, has noted, the most effective third places are ones for building real communities seem to be physical places, because we are human after all. Technology adds layers to us, but our souls and our hearts remain the same. So physical space is really important. So what are some third places you enjoy in Lexington? If you would type in the chat.
So Pete's is really the place now. The library, we're running out of them. Visitors Center Green, Parks, Lincoln Field, the Battle Green, Panera and the library, lots of library, the community center, the ball fields, visitor center, community center, the bike path, the stone building, music emporium, fruity yogurt, and finally, Daphne, someone wants to know what the name of the Greek town before we go on.
Oh, it's on the island of Symi, S-Y-M-I. And there's only one town on the island of Symi, and that's it. And it's called Symi. And if you want to know more, I'll tell you offline. So third places are places that build community and where people from different backgrounds can come together. So it's really important that people feel they belong to these places and these spaces. So who feels welcome and who does not have implications. And third places, as you all noted, are both public and private, right? The private, like if it's a restaurant or a coffee shop or the library or community center. And the ability of communities to thrive and for democracy to thrive it really depends on these third places. And it also is a feedback loop in that it impacts the success of these third places, because if people want to be there, then that in turn promotes the success of the place. So now we're going to do a very quick overview of examples from elsewhere. And this is just to broaden the palette of possibilities, just to inspire us to think outside of our everyday, vision. But when thinking about how these best practices relate to Lexington, we need to think about each commercial district has its own personality and will fulfill different needs. So not all of these guiding principles will be applied or applicable in all cases. So we want to think about, okay, what can we adopt here and what there? And some, like the town center, are oriented to all residents and visitors, but other are smaller districts, they're more neighborhood oriented. Some of the actions are the responsibility of the public sector, some of the private sector, the public sector might be able to inspire the private sector by providing incentives, and some depend on a public-private partnership. So here we go.
Can I,
Yes.
one of the things that's coming up in the chat, just to add it to the thinking, is that most of our third places that we're talking about are outside, but we need inside spaces given our climate.
True. And also, I think the last 2 years, people have been experiencing more of the outside. So variety in types of eateries. And if you have any comments on any of these, please type them in the chat. Whether you like something, don't like it, you want to know more about it, whatever it is. Attractive, creative blade signs. So blade signs I think of as earrings on buildings. I would never go anywhere without earrings, and I can't see how some buildings do. And they are the signs that are oriented to the pedestrian, right? Because the signs that are against the building facade, those are oriented to the automobile. Someone walking on the sidewalk needs to see what's coming, and it needs to be attractive, and it needs to be creative. And you can see some people will say you can't get that creative because we are in an historic district. Well, so is Concord, and so is Nantucket. Express the diverse ethnic racial groups in the physical environment. That goes back to the sense of belonging in the third places that we were talking about just moments ago. Historic interpretation, and not just plaques of the traditional type, but maybe a little bit more explanation, but also the use of technology overlaying so that you can be telling stories. Expressing community values in the physical environment. Here, right here, this is inside. It's the town hall of Somerville, City Hall. And it tells you how many calories you burn every time you walk up a step. It's actually quite inspiring to take the stairs. Clear wayfinding is really critical, whether that be through, showing you are here and that's where you want to go. There's this great across Lexington that's been the last few years has been great wayfinding through the back paths and trails and good signage. Welcoming gateways. If you think about it, when you are on Mass Ave or in Bedford Street or on Waltham Street for that matter, you don't know when you've entered Lexington and when you've left it. There isn't a way of clearly identifying that transition. Plants and flowers. Outdoor seating of all sorts. Opportunities for community gathering. Interesting places to gather. Clear rules, so people know what's expected of them. Opportunities for celebration. Whimsical features. And local artists can be invited to help with this, and high school students for that matter. More whimsical features. I don't know if you've been on the street in Dublin, Ireland, where they're making fun of the fact that it's always raining, or on this street in Athens, where during the economic crisis, the municipality asked residents to give an old lighting fixture from their home. And it was supposed to just attract attention, a little bit to draw some people in. Well, it was so successful in drawing attention that it's still there. And the crisis was in 2008. This is in Cape Cod. This is in Kittery, outside of the library, Kittery, Maine. Public art. Lexington recently had this exhibition on the bike path, which was really nice with the outdoors. Focal meeting points. If you think about it, if you said to someone, where shall we meet in East Lexington? And you don't want to meet inside of a shop, where are you going to tell them to meet? In a parking lot? And that would hold true for some other of the commercial districts. Seasonal events. Public props that support coming together, that support attracting people to have fun, to play music, to play chess. The use of color. Now, I know that some people will say, oh, but we're an historic district. The center is an historic district. Well, just want you to know, this is in London. This is in London. This is in Provincetown. This is, I think, in West Concord. These are all in London. How much more historic can you get? Places to pause. Outdoor dining. This is in Winchester. Outdoor merchandise. This is actually when Lexington used to have a bookshop. This is in Athens. These are both in Concord. How the outdoor merchandise is bringing people, drawing them in. Welcoming to all. That can be accomplished in a number of ways, but signage is clearly a direct way. Mixed use, housing above retail. Now, I know this has been a big issue, a big discussion over time in Lexington, but I think that now people are mostly in agreement that it's been a good thing in the center, but there isn't a whole lot of it, as you all know. And a mix of uses. So it looks like a new bank is coming to town. This is here to say that each of us is going to be attracted to a different color in this layering of peeling paint on an old abandoned house. But we're all going to be attracted in here, and it's about that mix. It's about attracting different people to different pieces of the collection of uses in the town. So it really has to be a number of different things happening at the same time, and they have to be different things happening. Active backdoor treatment, so that the back doors, we have so much backdoor, in the CVS lot as well as in the other municipal lot, but they really look like back doors. They're not that welcoming. Treatment of blank walls. Pedestrian-oriented, humanly scaled spaces. This is Bristol, Rhode Island. So spaces that are designed to hold humans, not cars. And not just hold them, embrace them, support their interaction. Attractive connectivity, so that alleyways, this here on the right connects the retail to the municipal parking in Concord. And the alleys connecting parking to the retail can be treated with more interesting and attractive features. Interesting crosswalks. This 3D one is in Montreal. This one's in Madrid. These two are in Seattle. And they're just fun. Pedestrian space in parking areas. Parking areas now in Lexington, they're all devoted to the car. Opportunities to provide input, asking people, what would you like to see here? Or how would you like to spend our joint money, our town budget? Elements of surprise. So it's not all predictable. It's not all the same. Things change. Things are happening. More elements of surprise. I'll have full disclosure. This is my daughter, Melina. It's in a town outside of Bogota, Colombia. We're right there in the middle of the retail is a climbing wall. You give them a little bit of money, they put a helmet on you and you can have a chance to go up and down the wall. And all these people are lining up and then of course get hungry and thirsty and patronize the shops. Creative lighting. So it's all in the details. It's all in how each of those pieces come together to make a whole, right? And how the features combine and intersect. This is the ancient Egyptian hieroglyph for community, which happens to be like an intersection, right? So now let's quickly look at a brief overview of Lexington's commercial districts. Lexington is home to almost 1,500 businesses, 22,000 employees, and there's been a 20% increase since 2007. 120,000 visitors annually, and prior to the pandemic, $1.3 million were generated with hotel and meal tax annually. How many commercial districts do you think Lexington has? That means areas zoned for commercial use. And Amanda, if you would launch the poll. Amanda, could you launch the poll, please?
So
Maybe
people are
we should move on.
Yeah.
responses in the chat.
It's 11, and these are them. So this is land use by percentage, and you see that Lexington has only 6% of its land zoned for commercial. And if you compare to Concord and Burlington, it's in between the two. Burlington, of course, having a great amount of 44%, and Concord much less, 2.4%, even though they have, you know, 3 main village centers. Lexington has 31 life science properties and 1 more coming. This is an artist rendering of the Revolution Labs coming to Waltham Street. And you can see this is the exterior, and a planned mixed use residential development on Bedford Street. It's coming along. So leaving or recently left Lexington were these establishments. Recently came to or expanding in Lexington are these. And coming soon are several others. And they're of different types of uses. And they're not all in Lexington Center. So since the comprehensive plan in 2003, there's been a significant, really significant increase in the number of life sciences and biotech and pharma companies, a 20% increase in the number of business establishments, the establishment of the Economic Advisory Committee, and the Economic Development Office has undertaken a number of initiatives, the Center Streetscape Project, and significant changes in demographics, which basically reflects the market, right? The local market. So of course, we can't not discuss the impacts of the coronavirus. There was experienced a decrease in foot traffic necessarily, a decrease in sale related to that, and sales, shuttering of some businesses. And of course, these impacts are compounded by the streetscape improvement, by the tearing up of sidewalks. Still, the vacancy rate has decreased, as you can see here. So Dr. Hila Oren at the Tel Aviv Foundation, I thought said this very well. If we go back to 100% the way we were before the pandemic, we'll miss the whole lesson that we need to learn from this. And COVID-19 came to give us a lesson, and we have to listen to it. We need to be quiet so that we can listen. And one of the things that the town surveyed the residents in 2020, and over half would like to see curbside options for restaurants continue, so outdoor seating. And over half would be likely or very likely to shop through local retailers' online stores as opposed to national or global chains. So that needs to be supported. So Amanda is saying that it's she's frozen. So
Nope,
if you
I'm
could
back. I'm back.
there it is. So could you launch this poll, please? How much have your shopping and dining habits been impacted?
Yep, it should be launched.
Yes, it's launched. Thanks, Amanda.
Sorry about that. Lost all controls.
It happens to the best of us. So it looks like most people are saying significantly or even completely changed. So what this means is that the commercial districts have to make an even larger effort to draw people in. So basically it's about creating this draw to attract people, to create a market to support commerce, right? So how do we do that? How do we attract people to come, and how do we get them to linger? So one huge potential market are residents. And a recent study found that many residents of Lexington spend a lot of their disposable income outside of Lexington. So what can Lexington do to attract that spending back into town? Any thoughts? How can that potential market be tapped further? If you could type in the chat, please.
Have actual local businesses and restaurants, bars, good restaurants, better restaurants and boutique shops, a gourmet shop, easy parking, small independents, Marshall's, TJ Maxx type stores, higher end pubs, places that stay open after 8 p.m., fewer banks, a free Express.
What about attracting area employees? Because of the big boom in the biotech, look at how many employees are in these companies, and they are a potential market that could be attracted to spend at least some of their either errands money, lunchtime money, or after work money, dinner, such.
It's got spots for lunch. Need a place for those folks to park, easier walkability and public transportation. Lunch options are limited with Panera leaving. A lot of lunch options. Parking should be free. Would like to work in less, like someone said, they like to work in Lexington rather than Boston. Let's see, develop East Lexington more quick lunch options, cluster related businesses.
What about additional tourists? How can the town attract additional tourists, both in terms of numbers, but also in terms of their spending money? It has been suggested by some that tourists come to Lexington, they see the sights, and then they go have lunch in Concord. So,
Lodging, excuse me.
Please.
Lodging, photo opportunities, have another revolution. That's an idea. Establish a cultural district, more lunch places. Make it clear what Lexington is about. Museum in the Hosmer House, desirable restaurants, more B&Bs. Thinking of a vibrant place like Moody Street in Waltham, tour guides, coffee shops. No one in the town is completely devoted to tourism, festivals. Turn one of the historic houses back into a working tavern.
So recently, the town participated in a local rapid recovery planning process. And when I say recently, it was submitted on October 8th of this year. And the Fine Point Associates, the consultants, made this statement: the bikeway user market segment, including commuters, recreational cyclists, walkers, joggers, etc., appears to be largely untapped despite the very close proximity. So the bike path goes through East Lexington and the town center, yet the people using it, either for recreation or for commuting, are not stopping to spend their money, even just to buy a coffee or to have a snack or to run an errand. And one of the reasons, that the analysis states is that, again, those back doors are not expressing what is in their establishments. And so people don't know that what they're even passing by. So what would you say are some thoughts about how to attract this potential market? Because again, what we're trying to do is draw people in to create a market to support these additional uses that you're all mentioning. So we need to figure out a way, and it's a feedback loop.
So a bike repair shop, more bike parking. There was one comment that the bikeway is largely walled off from the rest of the community. Signage, public art along the bike path. Cyclists love a good beer. Kiosks, breakfast and lunch places. Make Mass Avenue bike friendly for families. Small places to stop along the path. More off ramps and connections.
Some very good ideas.
Yeah, so great. These are all fantastic ideas.
So now we're going to look at the specific commercial districts in Lexington, right? We were talking in general about, we were talking as a group. Now we want to look at each one specifically. And just so you know, we can't speak about every single one tonight because there just wouldn't be enough time, because we want to hear your responses and your thoughts about the key ones. But we'd like you to know that for sure, one of the recommendations of the comprehensive plan will be that each of the districts be looked at separately and a plan be developed for them. They be studied in terms of both of their positive features and opportunities and challenges, and that there be a forum, a public forum organized around each of them. So don't feel as though tonight is the end of the discussion, it's just the beginning. But also, if the commercial district that's in your neighborhood isn't brought up, it's not that it's being ignored. So these are the key districts and the key corridors that we identified. And as you see, these amoeba-like shapes are the centers. The circles around them with the dotted circles are a half mile from the center, right? So that's the center, that's actually the town center. And then that's a half mile. So what you notice, and here are, of course, the two main, the Mass Ave and Bedford Street corridor. What you notice is that there's a lot of overlap in the half mile, which is a 7 to 10 minute walk. So we have these sort of catchment areas, right? 7 to 10 minute walk to each of these commercial districts, yet people are not always going there. They could walk there, but they're going elsewhere. So we have to figure out why and what would make them come more frequently. And then the other thing is that they're all pretty much clustered around the center and then East Lexington area, but there are not many. I mean, there is this corridor, this linear commercial corridor, but then nothing out here, nothing out here. So now we're going to take each of these and take a closer look. So we'll start with the town center, and we will be cutting off the comments at some point so that we can then go on to the next commercial district. But we just want you to know that ahead of time, because I know that a lot of people will probably want to talk about the town center more than the others, but we need to talk about all of them. So there are approximately 165 commercial units, including retail, restaurant, services. More than half of these establishments are services. Most of them are small, less than 1,200 and 1,500 square feet. And the larger establishments include what we all know, Panera, CVS, and the banks. There 60% are, and this is of course 2019, that was the most recent information we could find, and we know that some things have changed, but in general most has remained the same. The split tax rate may significantly impact the cost of occupancy, but this is especially so for small businesses. Larger businesses don't seem to be so affected in terms of their deciding where to locate. And rents are assumed to be higher in comparable communities. And this is some information we were able to gather from this 2019 report. So you see that Lexington is the highest amongst these communities. I did hear Martha call out somebody saying that more nightlife, more night hours, and Martha knows I'm a big proponent of that. And you see that the majority are not open after 6:30. So you see, as I said before, that almost that more than half are services, and these are both professional and personal services, including legal offices, architectural design, computer related, finance. We've got 12 banks, 13 healthcare, and all kinds of personal care, hair, skin, nails. And again, this is 2019, so some of this may be a little bit different.
Although I will say that a number of people in the chat have noted the excessive number of nail and real estate and bank.
So before we get to talking about how the center could be improved, we just wanted to share with you some ongoing planning for improvements. So this is Grain Mill Alley, which is between the Bank of America and the real estate there. And there's a plan to create more of a bike node with bike parking and seating and attractive paving and planting. Also, there have been some recent changes to the regulations in an attempt to support vibrancy and attractiveness. So adjusted definitions for restaurants, added by right use of makerspace, which is more of a contemporary use that it wasn't ever included in previous zoning anywhere, right? Because it's a new kind of use. Adjusted the definition of financial services. You can't use a full storefront for ATMs. And adjusted the bylaw so banks and real estates have to meet 7 criteria via the special permit. Some older attempts to support vibrancy. In 2015, the town passed a moratorium on bank and real estate use, attempted to allow greater height by right, and 2010 allowed finally the blade signs, the ones we talked about, the earrings on the buildings that are oriented to the pedestrians. And of course, simplifying how food is classified, and Lexington Place approval for special zone as greater height and residential use above the retail. More plans for improvement, the streetscape improvement project. And this will create a better pedestrian experience, bump outs so that shorten the distance, make it safer to cross and to feel more enclosed, more of a human scale, improve lighting, replace sidewalks for all abilities to feel access and safety, and more areas for gathering. An idea for improvement that Pam Shadley, a local resident in landscape architecture, she suggested to maximize the number of spaces in the CVS lot, improve and clarify vehicular pedestrian circulation, create more spaces for people to gather. And as Jerry Michelson has pointed out, this should not, the town center, chair of the town center committee, who was introduced to you in the beginning of the meeting, this should not be looked at in isolation from the other parking spaces and the other commercial areas. This should be looked at as a whole. So in 2019, when merchants were asked, what do you think would make the town center more vibrant? The top 3 responses were more community events, increased focus on arts and culture, and creation of pop-up spaces for startups and short-term businesses. This is increasingly becoming, especially post-COVID, becoming a best practice, that if someone wants to try, especially for small independent businesses, to try out a business idea, They want a short-term lease. They want a space where they can have, inexpensive access to try it out, to see if it works. And it also adds that element of surprise we talked about earlier. So, your turn. What existing characteristics make the town center vibrant and attractive today? If you could please type in the chat. In the meantime, Molly, if you could please add the link in the chat. What we've done is we've documented the best practice guidelines so that you can look back and that might help you to brainstorm. It might help to prompt you to think about future improvements. But now we're talking about the existing characteristics. But if Molly could put that in the chat, so when we get to that, it's there.
So I think a lot of people are responding to this with a wish list, but wide sidewalks that were put in good use during COVID, benches, pedestrian activity, trees, benches, lights, let's see, historic architecture, more variety of most of the green space, outdoor art, flowers. I think these are sort of wish list items, but that's okay.
No, those are things that happen now.
Okay. Let's see, the library benches, independent shops and restaurants.
Okay, so then what are characteristics that are missing that would make it more vibrant and more attractive?
Clothing and retail, a gym.
I just wanted
Stephanie?
to point people to the link. Is it in the chat?
I don't see it yet.
Yes, it's in the chat, but let me post it one more time.
Thanks, Molly.
Thanks, Molly.
Because it will be useful for the rest of the forum, so it might help you to brainstorm some ideas.
So cafe where kids can hang out, more diverse historic markers, easier parking, public art. There's the prompt. Life-size diorama on the Lexington Green. More outdoor shopping and pop-ups, pubs, a better traffic flow in the parking areas, food trucks, indoor public space, pizza, breakfast place, no parking on Mass Ave, unique independent shops, free parking for 2 hours, enforcement of speed limits by police, upstairs residences, monthly tavern nights, bring back the parklet, safe bike lanes, decrease traffic through the center, no trucks.
A lot of good ideas.
Yep.
You could do one thing to improve the town center, what would it be? If there are no obstacles, no regulatory, no funding obstacles.
Better bike lanes, get rid of the banks. Street music, reduce the rents, more varied shops, 2 lanes of traffic, more independence, more outdoor space for food and activities, have clubs and music places, indoor spaces, more eating, incentivize the right businesses, sweets.
So now let's move on to East Lexington. So East Lexington is primarily auto-oriented, has multiple curb cuts, discontinued sidewalks, little or no pedestrian-oriented signage. Most of the commercial activity is located on the north side of Mass Ave. The buildings are mostly set back from the street with on-site parking in front, although this isn't always the case. It has approximately 76,000 square feet of first floor commercial space and contains approximately 38 commercial units with first floor presence. And this is very new data because it comes from the local rapid recovery plan that was just completed. At the time of the inventory that was done in April, there were 7 vacant commercial units. 38% of the businesses surveyed were dissatisfied or very dissatisfied with the condition of public spaces, streets, and sidewalks. And there are some kind of destination retail draws that are either right in or very near. The two main ones being Wilson Farms and Berman's Liquor. Then there are some a variety of eateries. Bow Street Park, which is actually not very utilized, underutilized, and the bikeway that goes right through the back doors. Signage regulations were cited by the businesses as an obstacle by more than 1/3 of the businesses surveyed. There was an email that the town received with regard, kind of inspired by this forum, and a woman said that she felt that the town center lacked soul, that East Lexington had the soul, but lacked attention and lacked funding. And that part of what created the soul was the caring business owners, and that they had very regular clientele that they cared about. So that's something that isn't quantifiable, but is important to note. So this is the breakdown of the establishments. So eating and drinking, personal care and laundry, and food and beverage stores are the top 3. And the recommended improvements, which I don't know if Sandia wants to say anything, but I believe the town is hoping to adopt and move forward on, and there will most likely be funding available through the ARPA funds from the federal government to accomplish some of these. Now, the town did this local recovery plan in conjunction with the towns of Arlington and Bedford, and they're using the Minuteman bike path as a way of stimulating commerce. So that's what this is focused on. More than 50% of the businesses thought that more outdoor dining and selling would be important, marketing strategies that were district-wide, and a creation of a district management entity, much like the retailers, merchant retailers in the center. Like East Lexington does not have a management entity. So in the public realm, the recommendations are to connect the bikeway via designated access way improvements. So some of the things that people mentioned earlier are in this category. In other words, more ramps, more connections, installing additional bike and pedestrian amenities, and activating the Bow Street Park. Implementing sidewalk zones so that connecting important pieces that are and links that are currently missing, either because they need repair or they're just not there. In the private realm, it's recommended that the district create a store back improvement program. This is with regard to the back door, the treatment of the back doors, so that the commuters or recreating bikers can know what they are passing by through more attractive facade treatments, outdoor seating, as well as signage. Now, there has been some signage during COVID. It's not that attractive and it's not that visible. Some of it are sandwich signs kind of on the ground. And when you're biking, you're looking that way, so there needs to be a lot more calling of attention. In terms of revenue and sales, designing and installing wayfinding and signage elements to encourage the bikeway users to patronize the business district. Implementing a bike and best pedestrian friendly business district campaign so that people understand that it's really oriented to pedestrians and bicyclists, because now it's really oriented to the automobile. And having cultural events and programming like a bike themed week. In terms of administrative capacity, revising the sign bylaw and outdoor display regulations to encourage high quality sign types and promote lively, attractive outdoor merchandise displays, all of which is missing at the moment. Creating a mural program, especially for areas adjacent to the bikeway. And the strategies that rated as important or very important to businesses, when they were asked, the top 3 are more outdoor dining, marketing strategies, creation of a district management entity, more cultural events, zoning or other regulatory changes, and recruitment programs to attract businesses. And that was more than the top 3. I'll just let you pause if you want to see any more. So again, what existing characteristics make the district vibrant and attractive? Please write in the chat.
Easy to park, the bikeway, a variety of restaurants, wonderful collection of eateries and shops, services offered, Wilson's, newer architecture, independent businesses, affordable food, great mix of offerings.
I like the one that says owners are local, interesting, and interested.
Cool frame store.
That goes along with the woman who sent the email, right? Sarah.
There's a mix of things you need, near things you don't. Not a lot of traffic that on that part of Mass Ave. It isn't a place to hang out, but it's a great place to shop. Plenty of parking. Is it Ma France? Is that a restaurant? And
It is.
La France is a French shop, restaurant,
Oh.
cafe space.
okay.
And that doesn't have setback from the street. That's right on the sidewalk.
Sense of community. It lacks density without using a car.
So what's missing from East Lexington that would make it more vibrant and attractive? And again, if you look at the link, it might help to inspire.
Color, places to sit, art, whimsy, open spaces, missing curb appeal. It's ugly. Seating areas sheltered from something I can't read. Greenery, bike parking, buildings and storefronts are ugly. Unpaved areas, a pub, beer garden. Not much cultural artistic areas, no green spaces. When was the last time the landlords painted? Looks obsolete. Hasn't changed in 40 years, needs a facelift. Could be more visually appealing, just looks old and run down. Outdated architecture, not very colorful, not many places for morning, sit down, or night. Not very walkable, focused on cars, not a destination. Could you use a better sense of connection throughout the area? We put so much into the Lex Center infrastructure. New sidewalks and murals are not going to change the types of businesses. Needs greater visual diversity. No real link to the bike path, more trees and plants.
So if you could do one thing to improve the district, what would it be?
Wider sidewalks, clean it up. Public restrooms, more green spaces and nice outdoor seating. Remove the asphalt. Fix the facades. Put strip mall parking behind the shops.
Mm.
Improve visual continuity and color. Change the storefronts and shield stores from the road. Town should look at earmarking grants to help with beautification. Make it less like a concrete jungle. Make it more welcoming.
So now we'll move on to Countryside. So Countryside is where the Ace Hardware store is, the Dunkin' Donuts, the hair salon, a few other establishments. So what existing characteristics make the district vibrant and attractive? And unfortunately, we don't have any data to describe the district, but that will be a recommendation in the comprehensive plan that each district be looked at, in great detail and depth.
Well, everyone loves a hardware store, and there's a useful combination of businesses, a few different eating options, stores that sell products you need, and the rice cube is the best. And practical goods and service establishments, free parking. Good mix, dense. It's in walking distance to multi-unit housing on something. Hardware store is great. Small independent business is a good mix.
So what's missing?
There's a number of folks are commenting on the need to upgrade the park at the corner, and that it's not serving the school kids who pass through there well. It looks old.
What's missing?
Let's see. Too much concrete, trees, safety for pedestrians. It's a traffic nightmare. Green space is missing. Not pedestrian friendly. The traffic is so dangerous. It doesn't look attractive, so I never shop there. Hard to bike there. Parking needs a redo. I won't say that one. Lots of traffic from Burlington passes through. No clear way for bikes to turn there.
So if you could do one thing to improve this district, what would it be?
Put parking in the back and move the stores up. Better access to the park across the street. Fix the park. Beautification, facelift, curb appeal. Move it elsewhere. Friendly and greenery. Add a green space. Require better building maintenance. Better traffic lights. Reconfiguring the parking lot. Better bike access. Where is the park? A number of people have asked where the park is. I guess it must be pretty.
I believe it's across the street from this strip over here. I believe that's what they're referring to. There's a bench there, I think, as well.
So it's kind of an excuse for a park, maybe?
Yeah, something like that. So let's move to Merritt Square.
Okay.
So Merritt Square is where you see the square cut out in the tower. And by the way, what do people call this? My children taught me to call it Four Corners, and then I was told, no, it's called Merritt Square, and it does say Merritt Square. Does everyone call it Merritt Square, or do people call it something else?
I had people saying it is called Four Corners. They do call it Four Corners. And what makes it attractive that's existing? All right, you asked a different question, Daphne, so I'm getting off track here.
Sorry.
It's okay.
Well, the reason we're asking about why this, and we wanted to ask that about a few other districts, is that it seems that there isn't a common labeling of these districts in some cases. I mean, town center, most people call it town center, some people call it downtown, but most people agree it's called the town center. East Lexington, most people, but some of the others no. And that would be something important in terms of creating an identity, to have a name that everyone agrees on, and then to have some sort of branding around it. But in any case, so I'm glad to know I'm not the only one who was calling it Four Corners, but let's move on to what existing characteristics make it vibrant and attractive. Okay,
so is it Cumbies? Thank goodness. The kids love to bike and meet there and grab a snack. Oh, okay. Yes, go ahead. Dunkin' Donuts. Intersection of variety of businesses. Solid bakery. Love the Half Moons. Famosa Taipei is great. easy access for commuters. Gas station is convenient. Tricon Sports is there. It's great. Gas station. It's en route in and out of town. Thankful that Dunkin' Donuts didn't close. The UPS store. Tricon Sports, the cleaners. It's convenient. The Spice Box.
I think it's location within walking distance of the high school also. A lot of high schoolers patronize some of these shops.
Brugger's is a hidden gem. There's a great Indian buffet.
So what's missing?
Parking isn't great. Parking is difficult. Parking is hard. It's a major intersection, not a place. There's no outdoor seating. It's all takeout only. Traffic is overwhelming. Car crazy traffic. It is split by the intersection. And why are there 2 gas stations there? Why would you sit outside when you're looking at traffic?
So if you could do one thing to improve it, what would it be?
Less space devoted to cars. With make it more pedestrian friendly, better parking, grass and trees, U driveways. Don't worry about it. It is what it is. Safer route for our Clark middle schoolers. Art and greenery.
So let's move on to the Stop and Shop node. So what do people call this area? Before we ask the questions.
Yeah, that's great. Stop and Shop. Stop and Shop.
You should know what it is.
Bedford Street. Just that. Stop and Shop. Bedford Street. Stop and Shop. Stop and Shop. Stop and Shop. Bedford Street. Stop and Shop. Stop and Shop.
Okay, we got it. But there's a lot more than Stop and Shop there. So maybe that needs some, branding and definition. What existing characteristics make the district vibrant and attractive?
The new fire station. Starbucks is a major draw. Having both a grocery store and a pharmacy. Nelios is wonderful. Nelios, Starbucks, and Stop and Shop. Easy access from the bike path when the light right with the light right there. Green space in front of the office buildings, proximity to the bikeway. Trees on Worthen, useful businesses in one place. Goodwill drop off. It's our only Starbucks, boo-hoo. Small, convenience, but small and expensive supermarket. Easy to bike there from lots of parts of town. Outdoor seating at Starbucks. Food shops with a draw. Walgreens drive-through pickup. Is it Qdoba is a destination for many?
That's right, Qdoba. So what's missing?
Trees, attractions, dining, connectivity. Trees and walkability, good bike access, a clothing shop, places to sit and eat, a TJ Maxx, a bakery and more sit-down restaurants, more outdoor spaces and seating.
And if you could do one thing to improve the district, what would it be?
No TJ Maxx, better crosswalk between Walgreens and Stop and Shop, a Whole Foods. Let's see, improve connectivity for bikes and pedestrians. A bigger Stop and Shop, a Whole Foods again. Wayfinding, solar canopy over the parking lot at Stop and Shop. I like it as it is. Develop an interesting architectural theme for the area.
So let's go to Merritt and Spring. Does anybody call this anything? We didn't know what to refer to it as.
My dentist's office. A number of people said that my dentist. It's like, I guess the guy's got a big business going there. 5 Forks, the paint store.
Oh, yeah.
It's not a place. The home of the old Belly Buster. It's not 5 Forks. It's not a business district. It's not worth the time.
Oh dear.
Woodhaven.
So any existing characteristics that are positive to build upon?
I think people are getting punchy. Okay. A little true. Let's see. It's near the reservoir. It's close to the reservoir. Plantings at the island. Thankful for the wagon wheel. Nice planted flowers. Close to the schools, convenient and nearby neighborhoods. Nice buildings that are kept up well. Near the old reservoir, as I said, it's underutilized.
So what's missing?
Lacks good signage. It is missing a food and pub. I never go to there to shop. Place to sit down. A reason to go there at all. No eating places. Not much of the destination except for the dentist.
So the mix of uses.
Yeah, better sidewalks, connectivity, a clothing store. Imagine a pub in Lexington. That would be amazing.
So if you could do one thing, would it be that pub or would it be something else?
A pub, restaurant, high-end dining, eating options, a pub, a diner, some type of central draw, a neighborhood restaurant. Leave it, put our effort elsewhere. Something to that draws people at night.
So we'll go elsewhere. Does anybody refer to this particular node in a different way? We called it the personal cleaners node because that's the corner shop and that's the one that you see because it's on the corner. Does anyone call this something else?
East Lexington.
Although it is distinctly separate from the rest of East Lexington Commercial District, right?
Yeah.
And looks different.
Down by that road, you know. Next to the old fire station. A lot of people refer to this as East Lexington. Area near the Waldorf School, area near Fallen Church, near the Rotary.
Yeah.
Urban sprawl. Where the macaroon, I guess it's macaroon place used to be.
Yeah, it used to be.
Where the music shop used to be.
So what makes it attractive and vibrant? What existing characteristics or features? And we're almost, finished with the different districts. So
architecture, neighborhood link scale, nice skyline. I don't think it is. It seems local. It's convenient for the East Lexington people, access to the bus. The Taylor is excellent. Old architecture of the old library. Cute, convenient to walk. Wide sidewalks. Old world Lexington has potential. Could be nice if there were more businesses. Bikeway access.
So that's segue into what's missing. And just so you know, we have one more district to discuss.
Relevant shops. A need for, I'm not going to say that one either. Let's see. Parking, a coffee place, fun food places, a large green space before the Christmas place. The right shops for the neighborhood. Would be great to get a coffee while dropping off at the cleaners. Greater diversity of businesses, an outdoor cafe, signage that can be read by driving by in a car, outdoor seating bench, light signs, Waldorf area.
If you could do one thing, what would it be to improve it?
Traffic calming, replace the windows, make it over, more interesting tenants, mixed uses, concerts in the green space park. More greenery, art, and food. Encourage a restaurant with outdoor seating, more visible signs, green and trees.
Okay, so Lincoln and Merritt. Does anybody call this anything?
No. Five Corners, the
5 Corners.
abandoned buildings.
Oh dear.
5 Forks, where you can get paint.
So is there anything that makes it vibrant and attractive in its current condition?
Someone also refers to it as the area near Chris's house. Let's see. Not sure I go there very much. Fitness Together. There are a number of people mentioning this is not the right photo, but we'll continue to talk about it anyway. It has some nice landscaping. I get my haircuts there. Then more paint used to be there. What's moving in? It's convenient. I miss the pet shop. I don't visit this area.
What's missing?
Everything. There's nothing to bring a family there together, a focus. It's not a place, in quotes. Sidewalk connections between nodes, a sense of it being a business district.
So if you could do one thing to improve it?
It's a missed opportunity to provide things for visitors to the reservoir, make it a destination, a better intersection, better signage, more diversity of uses, a good restaurant. Let it be, it's not hurting anything. Reduce the amount of pavement, coffee, food. Gateway, it's a gateway to Lexington.
So some great ideas.
Mm-hmm.
So if you could do one thing overall to improve the commercial districts in Lexington, what would that be? If you were to say, you know, across the board, we need to, in order to make the districts more attractive and more vibrant.
Restaurants and nightlife, cars too close to pedestrians, more seating with tables, create more third spaces, more focus on the center, better diversity of population serving businesses, more green space and outdoor seating, art galleries, food trucks, traffic calming, outdoor restaurants with longer hours, encourage placemaking, more tourist and visitor focused services and businesses, fix the traffic, facade overhauls, moving parking to the back of buildings and more independent coffee and bakeries. Need a women's clothing store, and get rents reduced. Have more businesses that people really need. Kid stores, women's stores, more hardware stores. Get creative with the landlords. We need a Lexington diner or pub. Fix the architecture and make it more attractive.
So about the Lexington diner, apparently Sandhya, the economic development director, told me that a lot of tourists come to the visitor center asking where they can have breakfast, and there aren't really. So a lot of really good ideas.
Yeah, excellent.
So we just want to tell you what our next steps are. First, we're going to compile all these amazing ideas and other input regarding the commercial districts and come up with strategies to incorporate into the implementation plan, the implementation component of the plan. In other words, how to get, what steps to take, how to get from where we are, what are the existing conditions, to where we've all said together that people agree that they want to go. So already, though, we have determined that we are planning on recommending in the plan to organize a series of on-site walking tours and then follow up with a workshop for each of the commercial districts. Perhaps set up an installation at each location, asking people to contribute their ideas. And this in and of itself will activate those areas. Setting up a series of study circles for residents that weren't able to join us tonight to sit in their homes with and invite their neighbors to talk amongst themselves about how to improve the districts. Hold virtual meetings focused on each of the districts with more intense discussion and more information. And then basically a commercial district plan should be developed for each of the key districts. Do you have any other thoughts about what our next steps should be, or what we should recommend in the comprehensive plan at that level, not at the very detailed level?
Maybe take 2 or 3 districts and work on those rather than trying to do everything.
If you were to choose the 3, which would you choose?
Consider whether all these districts are even needed. Need more commercial space and housing in the center. Try to concentrate on the town center first, and the center in East Lexington. East Lexington Center. So those are the 2 that people are mostly saying. And then also here's Merritt Square, but mostly the center and East Lexington.
And if it were to be a third, more than one person is saying Merritt Square?
I just saw one. Also Hartwell is another one that we didn't talk about tonight.
Because we've talked about it in other forums.
Right. Yeah, Merritt, there's one Countryside, a couple of Countryside.
Okay, thank you. So we just want to remind you that additional opportunities to provide input. First of all, if you have any additional thoughts after this, please email them to the planning department, and we will be sure to incorporate them. But also please join us on December 7th, where we will be presenting the plan's key recommendations and implementation plan. And that will be covering all 8 of the goals, this being one of them, the economic vitality. Again, for more information, we hope and we wish that you visit the site, the website, but also you will be receiving a thank you notice, a thank you email, thank you note for attending tonight, in which you will have an updated social pinpoint opportunity to talk about the different issues, challenges, and opportunities as you see them in terms of their geographic location. So Social Pinpoint to now was just town-wide. The next version of Social Pinpoint, which is an online mapping tool that collects input, will be giving you an opportunity to talk about specific geographic locations and what you see as opportunities and challenges. So that is coming up too. So unless you want to tell us something else that we didn't ask, we'll pause here for you to do so. If there's something you'd like to tell us that we didn't ask you about, please do.
Thank you. Lots of thank yous.
Thank you.
Yes, exactly.
I wonder, maybe this is out of place, but I wonder if Sonia or Jerry might help us understand how rents are set in Lexington, because I think there's been a lot of questions and comments about the rents. And I know we have the dual tax rate, which the split tax rate, but I just thought it might be helpful for people to see that information.
So are you asking Sandia or Jerry to discuss it?
I think it would be helpful for folks. I don't know if.
I'll throw out some information out there. So if you take Lexington Center or any of the other districts, they're never owned by one person. And that being said, these buildings have turned over. In Lexington Center, more than half of the buildings have turned over ownership within the last 10 years, definitely, but if not sooner. And with that comes paying that higher price for that property, some by smaller people and some by major players in the real estate industry. So they have to pay their costs. They have to pay their mortgages or whatever else there is. So they are willing to come down some and some aren't. So there are some longtime landlords that are very willing to negotiate. But the advertised prices of what's in Lexington Center might not be at 50 anymore, about what one of the slides said, but it's definitely up there above our places that people see as desirable as to go and shop. So it needs to be an understanding with the landowners to what business model can actually handle that rent structure. I don't have the numbers off the top of my head, but Sandia might have those things, but it really comes down to, we don't have one landowner, and there are costs to everything.
Yeah.
Thanks.
Jerry, would you say that adds to why we get so many banks? Because that becomes like, the rents also add up, and, the banks, they are able to afford that kind of rent.
Yeah. So each of these landowners need a stable long-term tenant, which over time has been banks. But we have put some limitations on that. So the next spaces probably will not be banks. The only reason why Enterprise is going into where it's going is because Boston Private was a bank. They wanted to be in Lexington Center prior to this, and they could not come in because of what we implemented in a town meeting. So that is some of the conversation to be had is how do you get, these landlords want a stable long-term tenant, and not every store can be there. I've had this conversation 5 years ago, 10 years ago, 15 years ago, and even my dad before me had these same type of conversations that we're having tonight. And it is a typical cycle. It's not a fun cycle, but I went through my old notes, and speech I gave to town meeting was, the center is losing its vibrancy. There's a lot of open spaces, but now we have all these new places coming in, and hopefully we'll support them.
Are there any other business owners or landlords in the meeting that would like to give their perspective? Because I know that some have shared in the past that it's difficult, that they hold out for a non-bank entity, but they have a difficult time. So I don't know if there are any that would like to share.
Sharon is here. So Sharon Spalding is another.
I didn't want to call her name, but that's who I was thinking of.
Is someone, Amanda, are you able to promote Sharon?
Yeah, she should be coming over in a second.
Okay.
And Sharon is someone who's worked in multiple towns,
Yeah, so my name is Sharon Spalding. I have to say it's been very difficult to be on this call. A lot of very anti-landlord conversation. It's been a very, very hard call. I also have buildings in Concord. I would say a lot of the photos were 10 and 15 years old in Concord. So Concord's a wonderful community, but guess what? So is Lexington. One of my tenants, and I want to offer this, who went out of business, when she did a zip code analysis, Lexington was fourth. Lex Restaurant, no longer here. So many people went to Burlington to dine. There's maybe 100 restaurants in Burlington. So many of my friends in Lexington say to me, there's nowhere to shop in Lexington. So I give them a list, and there's so many wonderful places to shop in Lexington. Lexington has a different infrastructure. We don't have a spoken wheel like Concord, like Belmont. I live in Belmont, and my office is in Concord. In Concord and in Belmont, we have a uniform, well, at least Concord, we have a uniform tax rate. We have a light plant. We have the reservoir in Concord. Our costs are so much less. As landlords in the COVID, we did so much. Free rent, everything we could to keep our tenants, lots and lots of free rent, lots of working with our tenants, whatever we could do, working with Lexington. I have to say, I felt that the select board was amazing. People like Jerry and Eric Michelson, Aaron from the chamber, who offered their input, whether it was, to be honest, sandwich boards, anything to promote business, a help in dining, outdoor dining. But it still remains that, and Lexingtonians, please, I ask you, promote your business, celebrate Lexington. You have a beautiful community. Please shop here. Don't go to Burlington if you don't have to. As landlords, we try everything we can. Sure, I know that I had to put off painting one of my buildings in COVID because I didn't want to do that in COVID. I just painted it 2 months ago. We do what we can. Please celebrate Lexington. It's a beautiful town. As landlords, we do everything we can. I worked with Monroe Center and wonderful people, to bring arts to the building when we had Boston Private going to Enterprise. And again, it was promoted as a new bank. Enterprise is not a new bank. It's replacing, and it's okay, Daphne, I know that was just verbiage, but it's replacing, but actually taking less space.
And as Jerry pointed
so
out,
it's okay, but
thank you
please,
for correcting.
We
Well,
as
Sharon,
landlords,
I'd like
let's
you to
work
share-
together. Let's be a team, not anti-landlord. Please, I want to be part of your team.
Sharon, could you also share, because I personally know that you have struggled a lot with trying to get a good mix of uses in your buildings. That
Right.
you care a lot about that. Can you share a little bit about that struggle so people can understand, and also how can people be helpful to you?
Yeah, anytime there's a vacancy, you want to do the right thing. For instance, I have big picture framing. We have hydrans, and always trying to promote a retail and restaurant atmosphere, clay oven, and I would say the best thing that people in Lexington can do is support the business here. I know people want bookstores. We did have Sundial. I think a bookstore can be tough. I think that's why some bookstores like Belmont Bookstore now has a cafe component. I don't really know all the components, but I just hope in the future we can have a conversation. I know Jerry and Eric Michelson are wonderful about promoting, Aaron from the chamber about promoting us all being a team. I think that's the best I can say. I would just hope that we can continue to have dialogue that's not the chats I had to read tonight, but maybe more constructive conversation. And I'm dedicated to Lexington. I love the town. I'm so proud to have buildings here, and I hope we can work together.
Thank you, Sharon.
And Daphne, can I add quickly?
Please,
Sharon
please.
is a great, she's been working with us throughout, the pandemic, with the Economic Development Office and with, the chamber and everyone. But we've had conversation with a lot of landlords and a lot of property owners in Lexington, and almost everyone stepped out of their comfort zone, helping out their tenants during the pandemic. During the entire presentation, I was thinking everything got affected during the last 2 years. We've been talking a lot of things, but everything that we are talking we have to keep in mind that we did have a pandemic and we are coming out of that. So the measure that we are talking is exponentially higher than what it was earlier. The efforts that we need to take, not just us as town, but also bringing in new businesses, is exponentially, that curve is like high. It's really high. Having said that, I wonder if you have a list of new businesses that have come into Lexington, because we do have
showed it earlier. We showed it earlier.
Great. Yeah, so we do have a lot of new businesses. That also includes new bookstore, and we also have a lot of other mix of new stores that are coming up. I do know there are some vacancies, but we do have new businesses that are coming up. So all these ideas that have been floated today, it's great. And honestly, there's always going to be a mix of stores. And Lexington Center, the vibrancy that is added, not just because of the residents, but it's also tourist attraction. The history brings in a lot of tourists to Lexington, to the Battle Green. So I think that adds up to the vibrancy of the mix. So I just wanted to point all those things. But this was great. Thank you.
And I wanted to follow up 2 things. One, that Sharon has been an amazing landlord from before COVID, and has always been devoted to trying to get a good mix of uses. I just happen to know that personally. So Sharon, I don't think you should take any of those comments personally that you saw in the chat. They were probably meant in general, and their perceptions. So please don't take them personally. The other thing that I wanted to say is to reinforce what Sandhya just said, that there's been a lot of research, not specific to Lexington, but in general, that people who had no online habits of shopping and food delivery before now have developed these habits. And people who had some online shopping and delivery before now have fully online habits. So to break those habits, and still, not everyone's fully vaccinated, that the COVID is not behind us. And also the habits are so convenient, right? So to break those, as Sandhya has said, means that an enormous amount of effort has to be made, and the effort has to come from everyone. And it has to be funding. It has to be people supporting their local businesses, and landlords doing what they can. I mean, everyone has to be in on this. Otherwise, we're not going to have those third places that make us human, that keep us connected, that keep democracy alive. So is there anyone else who would like to say anything else?
I'll also just put out there, and Carol, maybe you can help us with this. There's been a lot of discussion on the chat about the split tax rate. And I know that was voted in at a certain point. Can someone just give a little background? I mean, it I think is being cited as one of the biggest problems for bringing diversity into the commercial spaces. At the same time, I think we have to recognize what it provides for Lexington, because it does, it was voted in, so was a decision we made. Can you speak a little bit to the history there, maybe?
Yes, and Sandhya may also want to add some comments because we heard a presentation from the firm that Lexington uses for helping us value our real estate in Lexington for our setting the tax rate. We heard that presentation yesterday. And it's challenging because we want to try to take advantage of easing some of the residential tax burden by taking advantage of the increase in commercial values of properties. For example, when a planned development district is approved by town meeting to create a new life science building, that creates a tremendous amount of value increase. So it's easier for that kind of property owner to bear the higher split tax rate, but it has a punishing effect, frankly, on potentially on a small tenant in the center, because those rents are what's called triple net. So they're essentially paying a share of the landlord's split tax rate in the center as part of their rent. Sandhya, do you want to add anything there? It would be nice to be able to lower that split tax rate in order to have some parity with Concord and Belmont, but at the same time, then that would be, think of the shock to the system that would be on the residential side. So it's challenging, but it's very thought-provoking because we have to consider ways to ease that for our commercial, not just the large commercial, but the small nodes we've been talking about tonight. Sandhya, what else can you say about this? Anything I've left out?
No, I think you covered most of it, but that's the reality. I mean, that rate does hurt us. We are almost at the verge of being at the highest tax that you can see in the neighboring towns. A lot of people asked, why did this store go here? Why did that pub go here? Why didn't it come here? That's the reality, because we do have a high tax rate. But the triple net lease does help us bring in larger businesses, which is not an issue. Smaller businesses do get hurt with the split tax rate. On the flip side, as Carol mentioned, exactly what Carol mentioned, that means that our residents do have a lower tax rate, far more lower than, I mean, it's kind of that balancing act, but yes, that's a reality that we have. Again, going back to the zoning, I always mix this with the zoning. We just have 6% of the land zoned for commercial, whereas 44% have been zoned for residential. So we always have to remember how much residential we have versus how much commercial we have.
I'd like to touch on one other thing. Someone said that a comment in the chat should be addressed. The comment says, and I would just reiterate that commercial tax rate could be lowered for businesses in designated geographic areas or by business type. But I'm not so sure that we do have as a local government, have the liberty to do that. We are subject to the rules of the Department of Revenue, and we've looked, our assistant town manager for finance has looked into different methods we could try, but we're really constrained by state law. That is something that I will bring to her, however, so we could explore the extent to which we have any liberty to do that.
Or maybe a small business exemption?
We have been looking into that. It's there again, they have some criteria that the center businesses don't seem to meet, but we'll continue to look at that.
Any other comments or questions?
It might help to understand, I'm sorry, I keep doing this, but I think it's helpful a little bit to have these conversations since we have a little bit of time, but Carol, I know there was a slide at one point that the town manager put together reflecting the percentage of the revenue of the town and what percentage was residential taxes and what percentage was commercial taxes.
I have
And,
that.
and the revenue pays for all our services, right? So we might want to just,
I wish we had that slide at our
Yeah.
hand this evening,
I
but
don't remember.
I believe it might be in the inventory. if
It
I'm not-
is.
Okay,
is.
it will be in the final plan, the draft plan. So there's going to be a lot more information than what we presented tonight in the economic development or economic vitality inventory. So this is just one part of what you'll find in the economic development section of the plan. Sarah, I'm sorry, I can't say more about that right now, but we'll definitely be including that. And it is really remarkable how much value Lexington gets every time town meeting approves a planned development district for life sciences. It's just remarkable.
Sandhya, you have that in your report as well. I don't know if you have that easily available. Life sciences. I read it recently.
I'm sorry, I was looking for the split tax, what Sarah was asking, what I,
So what Carol just said, that every time town meeting approves another life science, what accrues to the town in terms of tax benefit.
yes, I have that in my report. I can share that in the chat if that's helpful,
That's
the
good.
reports that we have.
While it's quiet, I just have to thank everyone so much for the rich comments and input we've received tonight. We value the time you've spent with us tonight, and it's going to be so informative, not just for the plan, but how we move forward with the recommendations, setting priorities, determining how to apply resources and staff time. And it gives me a lot of excitement to consider that this kind of energy may soon be applied to planning for these areas. So thank you so much, everyone.
Very much. Thank you.
Just before we close, a number of folks have asked when the comprehensive plan update is going to be finished. And I've typed into the chat a couple of times. I don't know whether it's not coming through, but the intention is to complete this by the mid to end of January of 2022.
But I remind you of the December 7th meeting.
Yes.
Where we talk about the key recommendations.
Which is very important for everyone to attend. And then there's also a question about the raffle.
Yeah, I'm going to that slide right now.
Okay.
There we go. So this is our way of just thanking you for what Carol just said, for all your thoughtful, insightful comments, for your time, for your energy, for your patience, and for sticking with us till the end here. So Amanda, are you available to spin the wheel?
Yep, but can you stop sharing your screen so I can share mine?
Of course.
Awesome, thank you. And I apologize, I have two screens going on, so I'm looking at the opposite direction.
So are you going to say what the prize is first?
So what we have is it's going to be a pack of two for the 3 house tour tickets, or the 3 houses of the Lexington. So I'm going to spin the wheel now.
These are the wonderful historical society houses.
All right, so Allison is going to be the winner of that. We will send out an email. And is Allison here?
The rule is you must be here to win. And we
He's
did.
here, he responded in the chat.
Okay, perfect, great. So
Congratulations, Allison.
And I'm sorry, but there are 2 participants with their hands raised.
Just floating up there.
So this is the same prize.
Yep,
Right.
George. Okay. And then Kate Cutler, did she have any, you have your hand raised? Did you have a question?
No, I don't.
Okay,
And George Burnell has his hand raised.
George, you're allowed to talk. Did you have a question? It says asked to unmute. Oh. Okay, so this next one is again 2 of the tickets for the 3 house tours here in Lexington.
Is Carolyn here?
I don't see her in the list.
I don't see her either. Okay. So we will respin for that one.
Lauren here?
I don't see her either.
Okay, we'll respin. Over to Jan.
Chris?
She's here.
Yay.
Okay, great. And then the next one is, and I'm just gonna grab the picture of it. It is one of our local historic books. And that one is called Lexington, A Century of Photographs by Beverly Allison Kelly.
She's here. Helen's here.
And this again is the same book, Lexington, A Century of Photographs. And
I'm going to research some music for the raffle for December 7th.
Yeah, there's a lot of visual that needs musical support.
Masha's here.
great.
I was
And
going to say, can we buy these books at the Historical Society? It sounds fascinating.
Yes, you can actually.
It's a wonderful book.
So those were the prizes for today. We will send an email to the winners that were present and that we
Did you
collected.
see? I'm
Oh,
sorry to
Masha-
interrupt you, but Masha said
says she has the book.
and
Oh.
she's suggesting we spin again for someone else.
Yeah.
Okay,
And
reshare. Can everyone see my screen?
yes.
Great.
Chris, is Jeff here?
Jeff is here.
Yay. And before everyone goes, I don't know, Erin from the chamber, did you want to say anything?
Do I need to promote her?
I'm not sure. Oh, and Helen Wright has raised her hand.
Okay, Erin should be coming over.
And Helen.
Hi. Thank you. No, the only thing I would say is thank you to all of you. I know how hard you've worked on this, and if I can help in any way, I'm always happy to talk to people about any of these issues. But I think you have a great plan and a great team, and I am excited to see where this all goes.
And then Helen, Wright should be able to talk. Just unmute yourself, please.
Can you hear me?
Yes.
Oh, I just wanted to thank everyone tonight. It's been an amazing conversation. And I think there's so much potential. And I think the opportunity for residents to continue to be part of the conversation is going to be totally amazing for everyone. And I love the raffle, of course. That was just a wonderful way to conclude a great evening. Thank you.